We've only seen the story of Winky and Barty Crouch Jr. in the books, as they cut a lot of scenes in the Goblet of Fire film. I found this very interesting and wanted to make a video about it, so here it is. Winky was extremely smaller than humans. She had bat-like ears, a tomato-sized nose, and huge brown eyes. Her voice was even higher than Dobby's. Winky was dedicated to her master Barty Crouch Sr. and his family. Barty Crouch Sr.'s son, Barty Crouch Jr., was a convicted Death Eater who had been taken out of Azkaban by his father and replaced by his terminal ill mother, discussed by using Polyjuice Potion as her last dying wish. It was Winky's duty to take care of Barty Crouch Jr., who had been placed under the Imperious Curse by his father, to stop him from running away, which did loyally and in secret for years. One day, when Bertha Jonkies came to the household with papers for Barty Sr. to sign, Winky had her wait for her master to return. Bertha caught Winky speaking with the hidden Barty Jr. and heard enough to deduce who was underneath the invisibility cloak. This caused Barty Crouch Sr. to rectify the problem with using the Obliviate charm on her, but the spell was so powerful that caused the damage to her memory. As a reward for his son's good behavior, with months of persuasion from Winky, Crouch Sr. received a seat at the 1994 Quidditch World Cup final between Ireland and Bulgaria for Winky and himself, and allowed his son to take his seat under the concealment of an invisibility cloak. It was made to appear that Winky was simply saving the empty seat for Crouch Sr., who was too busy with international business to take the seat. Winky used her magic so that she and Crouch Jr. were magically bound to one another, so he could not escape. Though her fear of heights had led her to cover her eyes the entire time, leading her to miss out Crouch stealing a wand in the open. Following a riot instigated by Death Eaters at the campgrounds of the Quidditch Cup, Crouch Jr. was able to fight the Imperious Curse and gain some control over himself. He was able to drag Winky away with him towards the wood and cast the Dark Mark, the sign of Lord Voldemort, into the sky during the attack. Winky and Crouch Jr. were then both stunned by Ministry officials. When searching the woods, they could only find Winky's stunned body with the wand Crouch Jr. had used to cast the curse, as Crouch Jr. was still under the invisibility cloak and out of sight. The Ministry of Magic officials then revived Winky and blamed her for casting the Dark Mark with the wand, despite Winky claiming she didn't know how to do so. Crouch Sr. freed Winky to avoid association himself with the Dark Mark, and as it were, apparent to him Winky's guardianship of his son was unreliable. Winky screamed and begged in what Harry described as a pitiful manner when she was facing her master's cold remarks, which apparently did not stir his sympathies at the very least. Barty Crouch Sr.'s treatment of Winky led Hermione Granger to create the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, SPEW. Winky fell into a state of depression after being fired by her master. She started drinking butterbeer regularly, which contained very little alcohol, but was apparently potent for a house elf. She wore the new clothes and dress for her size that Barty gave her. Dobby, a friend of Harry Potter and former servant of the Malfoy family, was able to get her a job at Hogwarts working in the kitchens, though she was still attached to her former masters and had no interest in doing any work. She did not do much work, because she had traditional views about house elves and considered being seat-free or being paid disgraceful, but took to sitting on a stool by the fireplace getting drunk. The other house elves was embarrassed by her self-pity, though Dobby attempted to care of and looked out of her. Sometimes, Dobby would put Winky in a bed he had found inside the Room of Requirement when she was extremely drunk. When the Death Eater responsible for the Triwizard Tournament event was caught, Albus Dumbledore instructed Severus Snape to bring Winky to Professor Moody's office, to which they find the captured Death Eater was none other than Barty Crouch Jr., much to Winky's shock. During the interrogation, she was distraught to find out her former master Barty Crouch Sr. had been murdered, and she was completely destroyed to learn that Crouch Jr. had committed the murder himself. Upon the young Crouch receiving the Dementor's kiss from a Dementor, brought in by Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge, Winky distrayed the pint, and Dumbledore requested Madame Pomfrey to do all she could to confirm Winky. Winky slowly improved over the years. She kept her job at Hogwarts and participated in the Battle of Hogwarts along with the other house elves, led by Creature against the Death Eaters. After the war, Winky would continue to work at Hogwarts and would eventually stop her Butterbeer addiction. However, it is unknown if she ever got over the loss suffered from the Crouch family.